Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of What to Look For in a Self-Defense School. Today I'd like to address a topic relating to frequency. And this is something, especially within the self-defense and the martial arts industry, that shouldn't need explaining, but for some reason it does. If you are a piano player, you get better the more you practice on the piano. If you're a sprinter, you get faster the more you sprint. If you are a tiddlywinker, the more you wink your tiddlies, the better you get at that too. The point is, when you're looking at an endeavour, whether that's a physical endeavour, a sport, an activity, a pastime, etc., or whether that's an intellectual endeavour, such as studying, Latin or history, geography, whatever it happens to be, the more you give it your attention, the better you get at it. The less you do, the less good you get at it. This, is a general rule, which is a pretty good one to go by. Now, of course, if you are learning the wrong thing, no matter how much you study it, no matter how much you do it, you're not going to get better because you just get better at something that's wrong. That's a separate concern. We may address that in another one. But for right now, the more you train in the given discipline, assuming it's meeting your requirements, the better you get at it. So when you're going to a school that's teaching or purporting to teach self-defense, how much time are you actually training self-defense? If you're going on a self-defense course, or if someone's offering a self-defense course, that should be an introduction to self-defense. It should be a taster, it should be a sampler, and it should lay out the wares for you to invest in down the line. It shouldn't be complete in and of itself. If I show you how to do a push-up, you know how to do a push-up. That's absolutely useless to you unless you actually go away and put the numbers and the reps in to get better at doing those push-ups. Self-protection is exactly the same. So if you're learning even simple physical skills, you have to then invest the time in developing, honing and mastering those skills. Even something as simple as kicking someone in the crotch or poking them in the eyeball, you can't rely on that to come out under pressure if you haven't been training. This links back to an earlier video I made about the training methodology. Are they training you under pressure? If you train under pressure, you perform under pressure. If you do not train under pressure, you will not perform under pressure. I'll re-quote Archilochus because it's one of my favourite quotes. You'll never rise to the occasion, you'll fall to the level of your training. When it comes to the frequency of your training, if you do once a week, you'll progress slowly, but you will progress. Twice a week will be probably progressing better because you're doing one extra session. 3 times a week is probably going to be very good for your overall development, but for the time you're putting in training at a club, you should be putting in time at home as well in some capacity. 5 minutes here, a minute there, however many times you grab throughout the day. If you grab 20 minutes, so a minute here, a minute there throughout a day, you've done 20 minutes each day. By the time you got to the end of the week, of course, you're now looking at an extra couple of hours that you trained without really putting an extra couple of hours aside. So when it comes to your training for self-protection, you have to prioritize what's important to you. If it's important enough to you, you will find a way to do it. If it isn't important enough to you, you'll find an excuse to not do it. I'm not saying one's right or wrong, but if you're interested in protecting yourself, if you're interested in getting good at this, if you're interested in genuinely finding a skill set that's going to serve you in life, going to keep you, your loved ones safe, and help you walk with that little bit less fear in your heart, then you have to put the time in. There's a consequence to that time, but equally there's a consequence to not investing that time. And the consequence is what you think you know will fail you at the time when you need it the most. So any school offering self-defense and self-protection should have that either fully intertwined with the art that they're proposing to teach, or they should have a separate session that is repeated regularly. Even if they do the physical skills as its own separate martial art and once a month they do a self-defense context-based training, that'll probably do you, as long as they're not just paying lip service to it. Once a week would be better, obviously, but you get the idea. It needs to be constantly updated training. Police officers fall foul of this. Despite the fact that I have a law enforcement background, the training that I used that kept me safe, kept me uninjured and allowed me to teach others wasn't provided by the law enforcement because their training is poor. It's very low standard because they got so many recruits to get out. They pump them out like it's a little conveyor belt, and they just don't have the inclination to invest the time or the money in a properly developed program. This is something which I'm hoping to try and rectify with some of the people that I know are working on developing a program. But whether it'll be adopted or not, who knows? So the training that police do is generally requalification once a year after they've done a few weeks in the academy. Done. So although police know the law in theory, they don't often get the level of training you would think that they do. When people talk about military unarmed combat as being the answer to it as well, it's not. Most military unarmed combat systems are actually quite poor for the simple fact that the military are very rarely unarmed. If you're sending in an unarmed combat unit, you've probably made a mistake somewhere along the way. For them, most of the up close quarters or close quarters battle, as they sometimes call it, is designed to hurt someone incredibly badly in a war situation. They're not really bothered about defending themselves and getting home. They have a much, much different agenda. So most of their stuff is not really directly suitable or applicable to a civilian market either. So the training you're doing in that self-defense needs to be regular for you, pertinent to you, relevant to you. If you're in the military, great, you still need to train that regularly. If you're in the police, great, you still need to train that regularly. More importantly, if you're a civilian, you need to train that regularly, whatever that looks like for you. I'm not selecting an art, I'm not selecting a discipline. What I am saying is, though, constant training will get you results. And I prefer constant training to consistent training. Consistent is always the same. Constant is ongoing and keeps building, keeps building, and keeps building. So if you're looking at a school that only does a seminar every so often for a ladies group or a kids group or whatever it happens to be, or if you're looking at a school that just pays lip service to self-defense as part of that's what they're doing, you don't have a self-defense school. You've got a martial arts school that at best is trying to fill a niche, raise awareness to their art without really giving self-defense, or at worst is simply doing a cash-in on the hopes and fears of people. And that to me is pretty abhorrent. Self-defense, self-protection should be available to all, and the training should be well delivered with high level of content, and it should allow you a frequency, which means you reach a level of competency, not necessarily in a short amount of time, but you reach a level of competency within a reasonable amount of time, and you're able to maintain that level of constancy. That's what you want to be looking for. Take care, guys. I'll hopefully see you at the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe. I do like putting the content out there, and I like to see those of you that are interested in it. And I like to think that the comments I'm getting are well meant, and I thank you for them. Take care now.